Futures trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Hi, welcome to the November 20th edition of Basis Loaded with Joe Schmit. I am Joe Schmit. This episode, as always, is produced by Paige Driscoll with help from the EverAg Insights team. It is the official start of winter. A little white precipitation was hitting me in the face as I was on my dog walk. Forecasts call for additional snowfall this evening. What better way to celebrate the arrival of winter than with the latest from the NDPSR report? And we'll start this week with butter. This butter number coming in at 271.60. That represents a plus 5 to the CME 1 week average of 266.75. We traded 15 loads on the CME last week, so good volume at the CME, and basis still able to hold plus 5. However, at that elevated basis level, even with that weight that we traded at the CME, volume still falling well short of expected levels, coming in just a little bit north of 2.1 million pounds. So butter took a shot at the lows. As you'll see, we're trending higher here than about 4 or 5 weeks ago, but at this elevated level, volume a little bit meager, and it's no surprise that we're seeing levels at the CME return to recent lows. Up next is cheese, and we'll start with the blocks. This block number, 189.82, represents a plus 2.5 to the CME 1 week average of 187.25. We traded 13 loads at the CME last week at essentially 169, so that's a lot of weight going in at a lower level, and that's probably the reason that we're at the low end of our expected basis here. We would expect a 2 to 4 cent positive basis. Coming in at 2.5 is definitely at the low end, and I think that extra weight that we traded at the CME had an impact, and it probably had more of an impact than you would expect, because even with that extra weight at the CME, volume here on the NDPSR still falling short of 10 million pounds and well below our expected 12 million pound threshold. So as prices at the CME during this period of time were moving sharply lower, this is the only weekly average in the 80s prior to going down to the 170 level. Buyers were a little bit hesitant to participate in that falling market. We're seeing that volume here. And as I said last week, it looks like the business that was done at the high end of the range has now shipped and is no longer pulling basis up. So here you have it, 2.5 cent positive basis as prices continue to work lower. We'll see if some real business gets done at the low end of the range at the CME. Up next, it's barrels, 190.82. That's a reasonable number relative to the CME 2 week average of 184.80. So 190.82 represents a plus 6 positive basis. We only traded 5 loads at the CME last week, so not a lot of help there. However, you'll notice in the barrel, the manufacturer able to get some real business done around this 190 level with 13.9 million pounds trading. Big volume, well above our expected 13.5 million pounds, and all that weight moved at an elevated basis level. Now, granted, this is also a market that at the time was moving sharply lower at the CME, so you would expect higher than normal basis. Plus 6 is at the high end of our range, but I think the real win here for the manufacturer is the volume that they were able to move as markets at the CME were moving lower. In the weigh, this week's weigh number came in at 59.80, which is a minus 1 to the CME 1 week average of 60.50. We traded 7 loads at the CME last week, so meager volume by weigh standards. Pretty good volume here on the NDPSR, north of 5.3 million pounds. A little bit less than we were able to move a week ago, but a higher level here on the manufacturer, still clearing more than expected levels of product. Certainly have to call that a win. You know, the benchmark for the sales this week were, of course, the November 2nd weekly average, which was 58.32. So the manufacturer is still able to call a penny and a half premium over prior week's NDPSR, and at that elevated level was able to move north of 5.3 million pounds. Certainly nothing shabby there. You'll notice that the November 9th weigh number is a little bit of a downtick from the November 2nd number. The November 9th number of 58.22 is, of course, the benchmark for weigh sales for this week. The weigh sales that occur this week are captured on next week's report. So it'll be interesting to see if we can hang on to that $0.015 positive basis for next week's report. I myself am expecting a little bit of a pullback from this 59.75 level. And then, of course, 2 weeks from now, we can expect another increase in whey prices on the NDPSR. And then lastly, non-fat 138.38. That's essentially a flat basis to the CME 1-week average of 138.05. We traded 39 loads of non-fat at the CME last week. That is by far our spot sale leader last week. Actually, just a little bit short of having greater sales than all the other products combined, but definitely the highest individual products. At that flat basis, the manufacturer was able to move almost 19 million pounds. So I have to call that a win, especially since we're at the high end of the range here at this 138.38 level. This is a very nice price for the manufacturer. And at that nice price, the manufacturer was able to move a good amount of weight. So kudos to the non-fat manufacturer this week. So this marks week 3 of 5 for the November pricing cycle. Currently getting a November Class 3 expiration of 1985 and a November Class 4 expiration of 2095. If you carry current CME equivalents out through the entire December pricing cycle, only a 4-week in December, currently getting December Class 3 of 1890 and a December Class 4 of 2045. As I've said before, this is my final week recording basis loaded. If you have any ideas about what you would like from this show or what you would like to see in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Insights team. It has been my pleasure over the last few years to deliver this report to you and try and make sense of this weekly NDPSR report. It's what kept me going during COVID, something to wake up and take a shower for. So it's been my pleasure. Thank you very much. We'll see what they have in store for us in the weeks to come on the CME. Take care. I'm Joe Schmit on behalf of Paige and the Insights team. Signing off. Bye.